STEM grants have been earned by some very talented and important people. The grants are used to recognize outstanding STEM programs that engage Hawaii's K through 12 students in critical and creative thinking and demonstrate a broad scope and sustainability beyond their own project or program. I am honored to introduce Lori Shimoda as a recipient of our named grant, Ed Regowitz Grant. Her winning project, I Am a Scientist, is an outreach program that brings Chaminade University professional research scientists, graduate and undergraduate students into local K through 12 schools to teach science and serve as an education and career pathway for mentorship. We are honored again to present Lori the coveted 2037 AFCEA TechNet Indo-Pacific Coin of Excellence, the very coveted coin, and a certificate of appreciation. She is accepting these on behalf of all of our STEM grant recipients in Hawaii who are making a difference and preparing our future STEM innovators and leaders. We invite you to visit our STEM room up in South Pacific Ballroom 1, and our AFCEA Hawaii website to view Lori's video, as well as videos from our other grant and scholarship recipients. One other bonus, though, Lori will also have her demonstration, I Am a Scientist, in the STEM room today, and we also have an elementary school that'll be doing their demonstrations with the rest of the STEM room. So please find your way up there sometime before 12 p.m. today. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Ms. Shimoda, well deserved. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker this morning and keynote is Brigadier General Joseph R. Clearfield, Deputy Commander, U.S. Marine Forces Pacific. General Clearfield's bio can be found in the TechNet Indo-Pacific app. Please note that if you have any questions for the General, please direct them to this email address. You can text them, and they will be provided to the General to answer. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Brigadier General Joseph R. Clearfield, Deputy Commander, U.S. Marine Forces Pacific.
Aloha and good morning. I guess I'll put this. I'd really like to start by thanking General Lawrence, General Friedenbach, both of you. It's really good to see you both again. Richard and Linda, thank you for this. I'd also like to thank all the AFCEA West team, the TechNet team, and then the Indo-PACOM J6 for putting this all together and making this just such a wonderful few days for us to get together. So if we could just get a quick round of applause for all those folks real quick. So I did rehearse this, but that's no guarantee of anything, cognitively useful to you coming out of my mouth in the next 30 minutes. But what I'd like to do is, I think what I'd like to do is explain at least the Marine Forces Pacific, we would call it in the military problem framing. And part of that is, of course, terms of reference, definitions, what do we think this means? What do we think that means? That sort of thing. So I think I'm going to do a little bit about, if you could think one thing, I'm trying to define what we do know and don't know, or what we think we know, and what we're really sure we don't know is. And that way, maybe some of the industry partners in here, other government agencies, joint and allied partners, we can work together and get after a problem. So first things first, if you could flip to the next slide for me, please. So who are Fleet Marine Forces Pacific? So, there's not a quiz. You don't have to test this. But we're 2/3 of the operating forces of the Marine Corps. So the combat element of the Marine Corps, which has aviation, ground combat arms, combat logistics, and command and control nodes. And really, we're here in Oahu. That's where Lieutenant General Journey is. And then he's got 2 Marine Expeditionary Forces, one that's headquartered in Okinawa. You can see the numbers up there. And then the one that's in the United States on the mainland in Southern California. That is the largest of the 3 MEFs. The third one is in North Carolina. It's on the East Coast, centered on the Atlantic, Europe, and Africa right now. So this is our laydown. You can kind of see the call-out boxes, but down there on the bottom left is our Title 10 mission, and this is just a little bit important for industry to understand. This is what the Marine Corps provides. So able and ready combat formations with several missions. Number 1, crisis response, but seizing advanced naval bases, seizing airfields, enabling the joint allied and partner force to do follow-on combat operations is something the Marine Corps has always done. You can see that on any given day, we've got about 25,000 Marines in the first island chain, operating, exercising, doing activities, making investments for the nation, and working with host and partner nation. We'll focus on there. There's a call out right there of 3 MEF and where they're laid down. That is the Okinawan Prefecture in the nation of Japan. And you kind of see how we're arrayed and laid out in camps. And then over there to the right is basically, I think we're trying to call out kind of a day-to-day, what we manage and what we do. And then down below there, we've got a little color-coded key for actual places that we're in the first and second island chain. So I'd be remiss if I just didn't call out 3 things right now. One, we're going to talk about stand-in forces and what that means. But those 20,000 plus Marines, maybe 23,000 Marines that live and work in Japan, they also have 10,000 dependents with them. And they also employ 40,000 civilians, many of them contractors, some of it host nation, some of it third country nationals. So Japan is a home game for us. Those Marines live and work every single day inside the People's Liberation Army weapons engagement zone. So it's something we think about every single day. Think too about their location and its proximity to the island or to Taiwan there on the map and to the northern Philippines and to the peninsula, to the Republic of Korea. The hard part about reinforcing all those nations was done for the Battle of Okinawa, April or June of 1945. That was the hard part, right? We fought our way in, we've got there, and we've remained. And now, I think General Jacobson talked about it 2 days ago, peace and prosperity. Everyone has benefited from being an ally and a partner with the United States. The whole economic condition of the whole region has raised over the last 81 years. And then 2 is, it's November 3rd, so a week from now is November 10th. Our illustrious Marine Corps turns 247 years old. Yeah, so I just want to make sure everybody's tracking, I'd also like to say, just on behalf of the Marines, the wonderful Marines and sailors and civilians of 3 MEF who live there every day, Marines don't worry. Marines stay ready. That's what we do. So we're ready. So a little bit more about that and how you can help us be even more ready. Next slide, please. I just call it, this is my boss. That's General Journey down there. He's in Australia right now for the Marine Corps birthday ball. He's going to celebrate that with Ambassador Kennedy, who I think everybody here knows is the daughter of John F. Kennedy, Medal of Honor winner in the naval battle that preceded Guadalcanal. General Journey has 3 commitments. He works for our Commandant under Title 10 in service, training, manning, and equipping. And for those of you in industry, that's really who makes the decision about what and how much we buy, of what capabilities we think we need. He has administrative control over all close to 80,000 Marines and sailors that belong to Marine Forces Pacific. Admiral Aquilino needs no introduction, the Indo-PACOM commander. I think if you were here for Major General Rudd's speech, he talked about how much of the Earth and the planet that this has sort of turned into, well, it hasn't turned into, it's a dangerous neighborhood. And he is keeping, managing the peace and keeping, working very hard on what he calls integrated deterrence. So we are operationally controlled by him. And then you've got Admiral Paparo, who commands the Pacific Fleet. Admiral Paparo he's the supported commander out here amongst all the components. And General Journey, in a contingency or a crisis or in a conflict, actually works for Admiral Paparo as his deputy. So his role right now in plans is to become a deputy to Admiral Paparo. So that's what he does. And I'm the deputy commander, which I like it, right? But it's my parking spot, ooh, hoorah, but it's not really a thing. It's not really a thing. If something happens to General Journey, the Marine Corps gets another 3-star out here right away. It's probably, it's one of the generals either in Okinawa or in California. I'm the commander's deputy, which from what I can figure out is 18 months into this, whatever he wants me to do, I do. So that's my role. I thought that would be a little bit funnier. Okay. We're going to get into sort of defining things right now. And so I'm going to start with the stand-in force and expeditionary advanced bases and the kit that I think the future Marine Corps needs, where we're at, where we're going, and really with a focus kind of on the transport layer and the data layer. And I think I got a little, well, you'll see. I got a little geeky last night, but we'll see if it works out for me. Okay, next slide, please. All right. This was a long time ago, too. So I don't know what you all have been doing, right? But they had all this technology back there. But, if you could for me, for a second, think of a fire team, right? And for my JRTCers, that's a team of 4 Marines, one of the most capable combat formations the planet's ever known. You get 4 Marines properly equipped and armed, and trust me, they will control everything that they can see or walk to. That is a fact. So we got a fire team here. We got 2 Jedis. Well, I'm not sure what Luke is at this point, but he's close, right? So, but we got Luke, we got Obi-Wan, we got C-3PO, and we got R2-D2. That's our stand-in force. They do pretty well, okay? They do pretty well as a team. Now, what's attritable in here? Like, what are we willing, of the 4 of them, what are we willing to give up? I'm really sorry, C-3PO. Now, you're a pretty exquisite piece of gear. You're probably pretty expensive. But if one of the 4's got to go, it's probably you. R2, and I'm trying to be clever, so you have to let me know afterwards if I am or not. But I think they took R2, commercial off the shelf. The government got a hold of him, or somebody got a hold of him. It did some exquisite stuff to him. And even though it's not human or a humanoid or a life form, R2's got some pretty exquisite stuff that we don't want to attrite if we can avoid it. And then the Marines and sailors, that's the Jedis. That's the Jedis. And I'm telling you, you put them into a situation, they will solve into a problem or a crisis. So hard to detect, survivable, lethal, sustainable, and they can transfer and process data. Okay, all of them in their own different ways. So next slide. So I went ahead and wrote a universal needs statement for you all for this astromech repair droid, which is what R2-D2 is, if you didn't know. So there you go. I kind of got in black bold font there what the requirements are, but then I decided to geek out a little bit on you, and I put in red what I think are kind of, we want these, but we don't want anybody to know that these are the types of things that he can do. All right. I think everybody's just judging my homework right now. Just all you. This is what happens when we let all you tech geeks out of their nerdery. You start to judge. But and just to be clear, back to that previous slide, it's General Berger and Marine Corps Systems Command and our Combat Development Command. That's who gets the universal needs statements, and that's who judges what the requirements are, and that's who goes into program management. So MAR4 PAC can take a brief from you all figure out if it's operationally relevant to what we want to do. But then we've got to do, and we can help you. If somebody's already got a universal needs statement submitted, and you want to strengthen that with a ConOps, so how we would employ that in an operational or tactical or even strategic environment, that's the sort of thing that we can help you with. But from a purely acquisition side, we just aren't funded or equipped to kind of do that. So somebody along the line got this little droid and tricked it out, and the results speak for themselves. Okay, next slide, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the stand-in forces are doing every day, and this is just, I asked the team to put just a couple of slides together over the last couple of months of what we're doing. So you can see daily with the Republic of Korea Marines, you've got us working with Japanese ground self-defense forces, and then you can see there our interaction with the Australian Army. So it's about stand-in forces use their placement, their access, and their ability to leverage multiple resources so that they can have tactical, operational, and strategic successes. So an all-domain effect approach to how we engage with partners and allies. So I think where I'm going with this is I want to talk a little bit about it. I think there's a need for a transport and a data layer that we can share more readily. And honestly, I think you've been talking about that, what the joint force can do, meaning US only. What I'd like to spend the next, again, 30 minutes with you on is talk about how you can help us with allies and partners. So how can we work with allies and partners and win this all-domain fight? So look at a map, and if you wanted to allude to what's happening right now with the Russian Federation and the Ukraine, that conflagration, that war, by no means do we think that this happens in isolation alone with just us or an adversary. We think this is multi-nation on nation. So our great partners and allies, some of whom have laid here, how do we work with and compete? So currently, you may all be from, and I used to know the acronym. Unfortunately, I've forgotten it. But Centrix, and I've worked with it a lot. But we've got Centrix enclaves with different nations, and that's how we communicate. It's almost always you should think it's NIPR, it's unclassified email. We of course can do telephony with them as well. And in most cases, on the unclassified level, we can share a common operational picture with them. But it's not a common operational picture that would be useful, in a real-time, very, very dynamic conflict. It's just sort of a raw, static, this was the situation last night, or this was the situation earlier this morning. So I think we got to change that. And we've got to bring it up echelon of classification with some of these nations that we just have these long-standing networks with. So MPE is the acronym my team gave me, mission partnered in a mission partner environment that would open the door for us to communicate more securely with multiple partner nations just from one workstation. So the bare minimum thin line I think we're thinking about is a shareable COP that's useful. It is probably classified information, email, text, and radio is what we would want. Let's go to the next slide. So here we got Conquest, Nepal earthquake relief, and Common Dog, which was in the Philippines. So I'm going to talk about information for a second, and again, I'll ask you to bear with me. But I was listening to a podcast called Saltwater Strategies that's put on. It's sponsored by the Australian Defence Force, and I'll give it a shout out. But one of their guests talked about the Singapore Information Fusion Center, and it struck me because I've actually been there. I was there with the America ARG 15th MU. Back in, I guess it was the fall of 2017, as we were passing through. But it's hosted, so, and it's established in 2008, and it's all about maritime security, so MARSEC. It's hosted by the Republic of Singapore Navy, and they call it the IFC. So it's the Singapore Information Fusion Center. And it aims to facilitate information sharing, collaboration between all its partners. So over the last decade, this started very, very small. It's been the forefront of providing what I would call actionable information. And again, I'll go that. To queue responses by regional and international navies, Coast Guards, and other maritime assets or agencies to deal with a full range of MARSEC issues. Piracy, sea robbery, maritime terrorism, contraband smuggling, illegal fishing, unreported fishing, and irregular human migration. So the IFC contains liaisons from over 18 nations. So this is to coin a phrase, it's a coalition of the willing who willingly volunteer effort, money, and contribute to this for a greater good for their own security. So where am I taking this? We've got formulated this idea of SABRE, right? Which is secret and below releasable environment. Okay, so the idea is if we build this SABRE environment, our partners will come. So we're better able to get the right information into the right hands at the right timing and tempo. And again, back to kind of Field of Dreams, to quote another movie from the 80s. If we build SABRE, they will come. For the JROTCers here, trust me, if you went to grade school in the 70s and high school in the 80s, I'm like one of the funniest people you've ever met. Braden's here in the front row. I just apparently am not very culturally relevant anymore, or with my knowledge of movies. But that's what happens when you start going to work full time and have kids. But position sharing, location. So a little bit about the data that we're talking about. We talk a lot about signature management right now. I hear it a lot. We talk about cyber a lot. We talk about space a lot. We talk about signature management a lot. We talk about electromagnetic spectrum a lot. A lot of this stuff is coming out of DoD right now. I'm just kind of looking at the folks in the front row. I am not a software engineer, okay, by no means. But I do, I would call myself a warfighter. And I'd just like you to be a little bit more specific when you use, you know what I mean, when you use those terms. So, space, cyber, electromagnetic spectrum, and then, one of my new favorites, low probability of intercept, low probability of detection. That's what I want. Okay, again, what are you talking about specifically? So how about if we start talking about what wattage, right? What decibel level? What physical characteristics? So I came into a Marine Corps just coming out at 29 years ago, just coming out of the Cold War. We had built these radio battalions that still exist today that were very, very good at signal intelligence. I'd say offensive and defensive. But the big thing back in the day for us, long range or over the horizon, was HF data, high frequency data shots. And we were really, really good at it. I think really the US was very, very good at it. That was the fight against the Soviets that we were prepared for. We thought that this was going to be, you had to be good at HF data if you were going to coordinate, or HF and HF data if you were going to coordinate the fight. It's 2022. If you tell me right now that my adversary is fighting specifically on HF and HF data, trust me, we will find you and we will destroy targets. We will, if that's what we're looking for. So, SATCOM, free space optics, carrier pigeons, I don't know, robot pigeons. We need to have a kit where nothing on carrier pigeon. Thanks for laughing. I appreciate it. I got a couple high schoolers paying attention to me. But kind of like R2-D2 hacked into all those imperial systems, he was plug and play with whatever it was. Like, I don't know what API they built into that guy, little droid, but it didn't matter. He went parasitic on Imperial Systems. I'm geeking out on everybody right now. Like, you all understand. Is this on? Okay, anyway. You know, I mean, to the point where Tactical pushed to talk Luke's ICOM, right? He's telling so R2 is running the whole, he's opening up all the doors on the Death Star, and he's talking to Luke on an ICOM. But this is what I need you to think about, right? This is the sort of kit. So if you had a box that you could produce, and it's a transmitter and it's a receiver and it's got and it's got a power source too. But if you could make something in a form factor that 2 Marines could carry and set up, and then we can share that box, or those Marines, better yet, can go partner with our allies and partners with their box. I think now we're talking. And the other piece that I was going to say just about the probability of detection, we I think should be less worried about detection and more worried about characterization. So I promise you, there's Marines right now with a kit who can walk down here in Waikiki, or they're out in the field right now in Schofield, and they can enumerate the electronic spectrum that they're operating in. They know what strength of what type of signals they're dealing with, and they can connect. They can blend into that. And you'd have to be, now I'm not saying you couldn't find them, but you'd have to be looking for it. You'd have to be looking for it. And then what if they knew, they're looking for us when we go to internet broadcast systems, when we try to go to the local cable company signal, they're looking for us. They know that's us. So now we got to switch, right? And we can go to RF, or we can go to SATCOM, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea is Marines as a stand-in force, our Marines and sailors, those formations can scavenge for information. They can scavenge for connections, transport layer scavengers. So this diversity of transport. Okay, I think I hit all that. Next slide, please. Okay, hey, look. Again, a little bit about intelligence versus actionable intelligence versus information versus like research. This is from Twitter, okay? I pulled this picture off of Twitter. This is allegedly the PLA rocket force, all right? That's the source. But if anybody's looking closely, does anybody see what operating system they're running? Pretty sure that's Windows 7. And I don't know, but that one dude might have a Cathal Wolfenstein, game, down on it. Thank you for that. So somebody's 50. Cybersecurity. So in the midst of everything I just said, all the stuff we've sort of figured out or feel pretty confident about, the places that we need to go, security has got to be a part of this. So I think they stopped patching this in January of 2020. I think that's the reason the Marine Corps had to migrate to Office 365. I've got a brother from another mother here who he and I spent some late nights on the phone call trying to migrate the Marine Corps Enterprise Network over to Office 365, and a really proud accomplishment. And I give him a shout out. But we had to. We couldn't afford not to change. And a little bit about what the Marine Corps is doing modernization-wise. Again, I think we have to change. So next slide, please. I think this is a good slide to park on for the rest of the discussion and open this up for questions and answers. This is the modernization of the Marine Corps. These are the characteristics that we're looking for. This is the kit that we want, that our Marines are getting fielded right now as we speak, and over the next 1 to 8 years will continue to scale up as far as capacity and capability. So, what else could we use? And I want to talk a little bit about, we've got in there counter C5ISR, we've got a target quality QAP, long range fires. I want to just set for a second and talk about information. So, and I'll go to a more modern movie for those of you in the audience, and apologies again, but Top Gun Maverick. Can I just get a show of hands on that one? Yeah, okay, I thought it had to be, right? So I don't even know what that notional adversaries integrated air defense systems were. Were they SA-10s? I never seen them, but anyway, they were pretty cool. They were pretty cool. But if you tell me Adversary X has a SA-10 or an SA-10 type integrated air defense system, that's information. I can write about that. I can do a blog. I can put it in Task and Purpose. That's great. Now, if you tell me, these are where they're located, or in this theater of operations, this is how many they have, and you know what I mean, and how they're arrayed, well, now we're getting into a little bit more what I would consider to be intelligence. That's intelligence. Okay, got it. And I got some sort of common operational picture or common intel picture. Now, if you tell me they're fueling them, they're arming them, they're spinning them, they're turning some of them off, they're turning some of them on, we think based on their signature that they've got some dummy, that something's not quite right. It's a little bit off the frequency that they usually emit at. So maybe this is a dummy one. Now that's really actionable intelligence, right? Now that's something that can support a commander's timing and tempo. And back to one of my earlier slides, that's what that big four that are making decisions. That's the kind of actionable intelligence that they need. And we just got to be careful about what actual data are we showing. So if you grab me a common operational picture, and that's a Gator radar down there, bottom left, wildly successful. We've had these for a while in the Marine Aviation Wing. They are now going to the ground combat element. 3rd Marine Littoral Regiment here on Oahu actually has this up, and it's turning right now at the Schofield Barracks. Really, really capable system, and it's pulling a ton of tracks into it. But do our Marines need the track of something that's at 32,000 feet, going 600 miles an hour, and it's squawking on the FAA? Freak. Maybe not. Well, maybe it does, right? So when again, words, definitions, artificial intelligence, machine learning. If you built something that could tell my Marines, that's a commercial aircraft. You don't need to worry about it. There's something different about that track. There's something different about it. You should pay attention. We're going to turn all the other ones off, but we should pay attention to that one because it's trying to make itself look like something that it's not. Shipping. If it's in a shipping lane during routine, shipping lane time, whatever that is, going 8 knots and turning 2 screws, and it's got its AIS on, do I need to worry about it or not? So if you had something that could tell me, it ran through its logic, and it's like, you got to pay it. We're going to wipe that one off. You don't have to worry about it. No human in the loop. But this one you should worry about. That's what stand-in forces. That would make us more adaptable, survivable, lethal. And again, the other thing about this force is, if you listen to our commandant, he talks about a tritable. I think it doesn't get talked about enough. He doesn't use the word exquisite. I will, or I haven't heard him, but exquisite is something that you really can't share it with a lot of people. That's what we mean. That's what I mean when I say it. I got something, I know something, it's exquisite. It just means I can't share it, but I know it, which is good. So if we have something that's exquisite, and it's inside an aerial, anti-access aerial denial area, and it's got a piece of data, the whole game, I think, is you get that exquisite thing, just got an exquisite piece of actionable intelligence, and now we transport it outside that A2 AD environment to something that's non-intrudable, right? That's something that is exquisite on the back end of that's outside of the weapons engagement zone. Because now I think we've got something, right? So survivable, very, very difficult because it's very, very difficult to characterize. It can capture exquisite data through platforms. Some of them can be attritable. Okay, again, my apologies to C3PO. I mean, I'm probably C3PO in that fire team. I got to be, you know what I mean? Like I'm the one to go. But hopefully that makes sense, and we can get to it in question and answer. The last thing I'll just say is that our main adversary right now is all about effective control, which should terrify us, but it's about effective control. So also going back to Twitter, the same anonymous Bluebird feed that posted that talked about effective control. So, and he had a picture of two marionettes on 5 strings, right? Like fighting each other. And what he was talking about is the PLA seeks to cut the string, right? It seeks to cut the string and have it collapse upon itself. So part of the idea of the stand-in force is we're not connected to a string, right? We could be, and maybe we like to be, and maybe that's how we're optimized. But on a really bad day, if somebody did come and cut the string, it can continue to function, continue to fight, continue to survive, continue to be lethal, and continue to stand in with our partners and allies. So I think before I open up to questions, I want to reiterate, one point is that Fleet Marine Forces Pacific isn't going anywhere in this region, no matter what happens. We're staying, and if anything, we're headed west, okay, as quickly and with a purpose as we can, and Marines don't worry, Marines just stay ready. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was pretty close with my rehearsal. It was a little bit longer. It's probably because I'm so needy and I wanted to pause and feedback from time to time. So apologize for that, for going long. But I think we got some time for Q&A right now. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. We do have time for a couple of questions. First question, what are some of the biggest learnings so far with respect to Marine Littoral Regiment operations? Any clear technology gaps for industry to help solve?
Yeah, great question. Lots. We probably don't have time for all the things that they're learning right now. I'll hit 2 though. One is the amount of information that they're pulling into their combat operations center. They're pulling a lot more than the ground combat element ever has been able to before. And so I think back to my talk about the tracks. That's something that industry could help us with. Sense and make sense of what we're actually seeing now that they're pulling so much. Here's the other thing is, and again, I'll be a little bit funny, but 4,000 years ago, if you're going into combat, right, I think you're picking Achilles, right? That's the when it's close and it's a bladed weapon. Probably one of the most important Marines in that formation right now is the Joint Interface Control Officer, right? The JIFCO. That's the Marine officer and enlisted that we have that actually makes these systems talk to one another. That's probably 2, and I could stand up here all day and talk about some of the other stuff, but that's probably 2 that I think industry would that you all would appreciate. And if I don't think anybody grows up and says, I want to be a JIFCO, but maybe if they knew more about it, they would. And so, get for the JROTCers out here, check it out. See what you got. We're looking for a few more good ones. That's for sure.
Thank you, sir. We have time for 2 more questions. First question, technology can solve many of our problems, but it seems as though policy decisions at the highest levels are preventing us from engineering our C2 capabilities for the future. Is this being discussed at the DoD or service level?
Yeah, it is. I mean, but I'd be honest. I'd say I don't know who asked, and you can grab me in the back later. But I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. Look, there is again back to exquisite, and the United States and DoD. We're sort of the greatest partner and ally you can have. We've got to be very concerned, and before we do something new, there really has to be an understanding of what the second and third order effects are, and not just to us, but to our allies and partners. And there has to be a lot of consideration, I would say, back to the red side, the adversary side. So it gets a bad rap. We don't move quick enough. We're not nimble enough. There's just so many things to consider that a lot of folks just aren't read into. They just don't understand that this may really, if we did this, it could really upset something that a partner was doing. Or if we did this, it would be considered really confrontational and may set a tone. So I think I'll push back at this. I don't think they're preventing us from engineering. I think they're just being very, very diligent before they spend taxpayers' money, our money, on what we're doing and why we're doing it. So, but feel free to disagree. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir. This will be our final question. What is the most urgent technical solution that Marine Forces Pacific requires to realize the Commandant's vision for Force Design 2030, and how can industry help?
Yeah, I mean, so we can always be more mobile, we could always be more lethal, and we could always be more sustainable. So not trying to be, generic, but littoral mobility, magazine depth, and then sustainability of that. That's what we talk about all the day. So maybe I'm contradicting myself from the last question, but if industry could go faster with some of these things, the whole idea is that we keep, that this free and largely peaceful Indo-Pacific region stays that way. So anything that you can do to help us maintain it, help Admiral Aquilino keep this together, keep this region secure and stable and prosperous, that's probably where we can use help. So. All right. Hey,
Thank you, sir.
everybody, I really thank you. Thank you, honestly. I appreciate you listening to me. Hopefully that was useful. I do got oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Can we go back? So I got family here. They're great. I love them. But I got some friends and family here. Can we go back to the last slide? I do want to end the, Marine Corps birthday in a week. No? Did I miss it? Okay. I had a picture from the America ARG 15th MEU. Yep. There we go. Nope. There we go. So that's the USS Carl Vinson, and that's the USS America. And I got a couple of a mentor of mine, somebody I've stayed close with for 29 years, my first rifle company commander when I was a young second lieutenant. He's here today. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but no way I'm here without him. Also have two partners in crime. One was the Commodore on the USS America ARG, and then my other brother from another mother that's here is somebody who ran the Marine Corps Cyber Operations Group. So I just would like to give a pitch for how good we are. So when I went on the road show after we got back from deployment, and this was kind of our final slide, so the Carl Vinson, probably $10 billion. The USS America is probably another $4 billion. Then you add all the aircraft, right? But then what this is really about is the people. It's about the people. So there's probably, you can't see them. Oh, and my Submariner brothers and sisters wanted you to know that this is a great picture of the submarine too. So it's a great picture of the submarine. My Air Force brothers and sisters want you to know that this is a great picture of high altitude bombers too, okay? So, but there's probably in that photo about 7,000 Marines and sailors and civilians that support us. And man, it's just, I would just say this, woe be it if you pissed us off. Woe be it to you. Just fit, sharp, caring, dedicated, clear-eyed, committed. It was a great experience, and I'd like to thank all my brothers and sisters, families and friends that are here. I hope we get a chance to catch up before you leave Oahu. But thanks everybody, Semper Fidelis, have a great day. Thanks, Trip.
Thank you very much, General Clearfield.